Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening to the SnoWest Show. We are starting our 4th year here, and we've got a lot of great content lined up for you in 2025. I'm your host, Ryan Harris. Real quick, before we get into this episode, the SnoWest Show is made possible thanks to Polaris Snowmobiles. And for a limited time, Polaris is offering up to $3,000 off or 0% APR for 36 months, plus a 2-year warranty on select models. Now, 0% financing is pretty rare to find these days, so I'd jump on that offer. And these offers run from January 1st through February 28th, so start shopping for your next sled now. Go see your local Polaris dealer or find your closest dealer at Polaris.com. Also located in Big Sky, Montana, only 5 minutes away from riding areas like Buck Ridge and Cara Basin, 320 Guest Ranch offers lodging and accommodations for your next snowmobiling adventure. Single cabins and large full cabins with kitchens are available. Check them out at 320ranch.com. Also sponsoring the SnoWest Show this year, Fly Racing. They're the #1 gear brand in Supercross and Motocross, and they are bringing that same product innovation to snowmobiling. Whether it's monosuits, helmets, boots, gloves, goggles, Fly Racing has you covered for your snowmobiling need head to toe. Check them out at flyracing.com or Fly Racing Snow on socials. And thank you to Deviant Inc. for supporting the show this year. Head on over to deviantinc.com and check out their custom wrap builder with their new interactive design tools that make designing and customizing wraps super easy. Their new colorizer tool randomizes color combinations until you land on the look that you love. Then you can try the design mixer tool to see all the Deviant Inc. designs in the colors that you've selected. Check all that out at deviantinc.com. Thank you for listening again, and now back to the show. Okay, welcome to the SnoWest Show. I'm your host, Ryan Harris. In studio today, we have Bruce Kerbs next to me, Broc, Genta, Justin Stevens. We're missing Rhett Clark. Hi, Rhett.
Rhett.
Hope you're carrying a couch from Amazon right now.
Upstairs, both ways.
Got the and doing some returns. Got the SnoWest test staff in here. This is part 3. Part 3 of the 850 NA test and the 9R. We've got the 9R thrown into this category because it's an NA.
They give me a pen that works.
It's kind of the benchmark. There's another one over there.
You can borrow. It works.
Yeah, there's another one there.
Oh, there we go.
Not very good.
So yeah, we're testing the 2025 Polaris Chaos 850 RMK 155 325, the 2025 Skidoo Summit X 850 154 3-inch, the 2025 Arctic Cat M 858 154 3-inch, and the 2025 Polaris Chaos RMK 9R 155 325. And if you are tuning into this episode, this is part 3. Parts 1 and 2 are on the YouTube channel, SnoWest Magazine. They're also on Spotify and on Apple Podcasts. Thank you for listening. If you want to go check those other parts out, go find the channels. Please hit the subscribe button. That helps us out. We're going to be delivering content throughout the year, all summer long as well. Diving in, I've got some ideas this summer. We're going to dive into some retro stuff, 90s, early 2000s, like cool mod sled builds. Going to get some guys.
We're going to do some builds?
Well, I got like Max. No, we're going to talk about builds.
Oh. Why don't we do a build?
Well, yeah, we can start doing builds again. Yeah, we used to do the SnoWest Project sled every year.
Fun.
We should ramp that up
sled. Again. Yeah, Broc got doing project stuff on his sled.
And we did a project sled last year. The project was replace the running boards on a Skidoo Summit Expert.
No, that wasn't. That was just Farmer Kerbs. He replaced a running board.
But you were involved. You ripped them off halfway. And then he had to put them back on.
I still haven't been paid for that.
That's not an easy job, is it?
Justin said, I bought that 850 and I started messing around with it. It's clutching, pipe kit, head, just having. I mean, it was fun to actually start.
Clutch kit, turbo, pipe, and you just spent more money than you.
No, I didn't. I got hooked up. Okay.
Oh, he knows those favors.
I got hooked up.
One of those favors.
Yeah. The guys over at SLP, they take care of me.
Oh, good.
So I mean, why not?
He's got to make it run with that cat of yours.
Why not run it? I'll bet you. Yeah.
Go to snowwest.com. Check out the magazine. Check out our
Jason
merch.
I need you.
We've got hats, T-shirts, sticker packs still available. New stuff will be coming out soon on there too. Snowwest.com. And like we said, this is part 3 of the 850 NA test. Skidoo, Polaris, Arctic Cat. And the 9R. We've thrown that in part 1, part 2. We weighed everything in part 1. We talked about ride and performance, handling everything. Part 2. Part 3 is going to be just kind of a general Q&A session.
This could get fun.
I've got some questions for you guys. We also opened this up on social media to questions from
Where's
from
it at
followers.
on your Facebook?
Huh?
How come it's not pulling up on your Facebook?
I don't know. It's right there on Facebook. You're on Facebook, and it's right there. You're looking at it.
Come on, Bruce.
The Island Park race?
Yeah.
No, like your quick Q&A from yesterday.
That was on Instagram.
Just Instagram only?
Oh, yeah, Instagram only on that video.
My bad.
Yeah, that was a reel. So yeah, like we talked about in the last episode, we want to open this up to questions from the people who go out there, work their butt off all week, all summer long, take their money and go into the dealership and buy a snowmobile. Like, you guys are legit. You guys are the people that drive this industry. You keep things rolling. We want to hear your feedback, what questions you want to ask for our test staff. We have a unique perspective here of being able to be on all of these snowmobiles on the snow, same day, same time, go back and forth, and do that throughout the season. We started riding this crop of sleds February of 2024. Spent a lot of time on them. We assembled this test fleet together just for this test, so they're all comparable, same track length, base gauge, similar, as close as we can get to comparable apples to apples weight ratings and everything. So opening it up here to some questions. One of the first questions I had, and I'll throw this out to everybody. We'll kind of go around the room. If you were in charge of engineering, if you were the Fred Desjardins of Skidoo or Arctic Cat or Polaris, what is the one thing you would do to each sled to change, make better in your opinion, make it different?
I would add shot to the Polaris and the Cat, some sort of shot.
That's a good one off the bat.
Just saying.
That's a good one.
I mean, that's a. We always talk about it.
Yeah. We always talk about it, and sometimes we don't talk about it because we take it for granted on the Skidoo. But man, that is such a huge difference.
Big difference.
Like, you figure how many times, like on our ride last week, I generally count how many times we pull a sled, and it's upwards of 20. 20 times
throughout the day.
You're starting a sled during the day. Sometimes you're stuck and it's a weird angle. Sometimes you're just sitting there eating lunch. But 20 rope pulls, that's a lot of energy, a lot of calories you're burning, a lot of and man, shot.
Which a lot of times, I mean, we ordered the sleds without electric starts a lot of times anyway, and so I mean, it's always just kind of been part of snowmobiling.
Yeah,
because you don't have it, but once you do have it on the Skidoo for a little while, I mean, if those 20 pulls can go into maybe a little longer riding or maybe more aggressive or just having a little more fun, that would definitely improve.
Well, yeah, and so you mentioned electric start. Like, I hate electric start. Do not put electric start on a snowmobile, on a mountain sled.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
No, you're
you
putting
can pull the rope.
You're putting 25, 30 pounds on there. It's not worth it.
Yeah.
The shot adds a few pounds, but it's worth it, in my opinion. And it's really hard to get it without it anyway. But
maybe you can eat less Twinkies though.
There's always that.
I could do that. And to be fair, the Skidoo is a heavier sled. It's 19 pounds heavier than the other two 850 NAs, and it does have shot. So that is an element of why it's heavier, because that is a few pounds you're talking that adds that capacitor and everything. Yeah. Other brands, what would you do?
Skidoo, I'd try and go lighter.
Yeah.
Without compromising.
Weight saving is always a good thing.
Did you see their race sled? Their factory Rimshaw race sled?
Yeah, I saw it.
I mean, we got to see it when we toured the factory. And then, so it's a non-turbo. It's an 850 NA that they're putting out there for semi-pro and pro factory-supported racers. And the build limit is pretty low, but it's enough to satisfy the ISR rules. That thing, I think they took 90 pounds off.
Wow.
And it's got drilled out everything, lightweight. It's got the exhaust pipe on it alone is a work of art. And the exhaust pipe is hand welded and built by this lady in Quebec.
Really?
Yeah. Just...
you think lightweighting a race sled would not be a good thing?
Well, on a hill climb sled? Like you're moving mass uphill.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I thought you meant snowcross. My bad.
No, this is a hill climb race sled. Yeah, sorry. Rimshaw mountain sled. So this is what is it? The HC? No, I can't remember what they call it. Yeah. It's a competition sled.
Yeah.
It's a limited build.
We seen that in Quebec last year, didn't we?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, we saw that. But and when I went back there in September, we got to go into the race shop and see them working on this thing. And it was embargoed at the time, so we couldn't say anything about it. But a lot of crazy stuff on that thing.
Well, and which is awesome. I mean, the cool thing about that is it shows the potential for weight loss. Mm-hmm. Like that's significant. But like they said, even in some of the comments, I mean, there is a point at which you go too far because we have to have these last a little bit longer than a few races or a race season. And so, but yeah, that shows there's definitely potential. I mean, how expensive would it be if we have if we have that lady custom welding each one of those for every sled you buy? I'm guessing the price has to go up, but there is potential for that.
I would love a Skidoo that's 90 pounds lighter, but I would like a Skidoo that's 19 pounds lighter.
Yeah.
If you had all three of these sleds the same weight,
Yeah.
what kind of a dynamic would that be?
Yeah.
And go through the snow. And when I was out there in September, we had some sit-down meetings at Skidoo's headquarters with Fred Desjardins. We had the whole engineering team in there. And I always hammer these guys on weight. I mean, they know when they walk into a meeting that we're going to bring up weight.
You're going to hear it.
And we were hammering them on there. And Fred, I can't remember if he said, don't say this, but I'm going to assume that he said, go ahead and say this. So I'm going to say it. He just said, we're going to take weight off every single year, and we're going to do it year over year until we're the lightest sled out there. Which I love that confidence, and I love that kind of a design, because for a while there we were just getting heavier and heavier, but more power and more power. And their response was like, okay, well, do you want us to give up power? If you want a lighter sled, are you okay with us making it less powerful? So, I don't know. I'm not an engineer. I'm just a journalist. Yeah. So
I think the only other thing I'd like to see, and we're not talking much about Polaris and Catalyst changes, but I'd like to see the steering change and some of the ergonomics of the Skidoo change too. So I'd like to see what you could do with that power, their build quality, and something that handles just a little bit more like the Polaris and Catalyst do on the technical stuff. And that's I'd probably catch crap for that, because I can guarantee the Skidoo guys are like, no, I don't want that. That's why I buy a Skidoo. So I get it. I'm probably asking for something that maybe a majority of the people don't like that ride Skidoo, but I don't know. Depends on, are you trying to appease the people who are currently buying your sleds, or you're trying to gain market share? I don't know what that looks like. So
yeah, I don't know. Polaris, the first thing that comes off my top of my head is I would try a narrower ski stance. I know Jack Struthers runs a narrower ski stance on his sleds. He prefers that.
Narrower bars.
Narrower bars too. That's a good idea. We talked about that in the last episode.
Yeah.
I think the feel might improve and the control might improve a little bit.
Yeah, we'll have to try it. See what happens.
After riding the Cat and seeing where they move the motor, it'd be cool to see Polaris move their motor back. Just see if that changes that chassis. See if that makes that chassis that much better.
Yeah, and that'd be tough because their intake is on the back side, and the way they're configured, they're pulling air from the top, and then it goes down behind the cylinders. Right. And to roll that engine back, the throttle bodies and the airbox has to go somewhere.
Yeah.
That's the advantage Arctic Cat has with that lay down engine. Everything's on the front side. Airbox is on the same side as the exhaust. What about Arctic Cat?
To stay open.
Valid. That's valid.
It's hard to say anything on
turbo.
It. Maybe the twin rail.
Twin rail right off the bat. Yeah. That's a no-brainer.
Like, at least an option for it. So.
Offer both of them. I think you would sell a lot of sleds right off the bat if it were twin rail.
Yeah.
One thing I was thinking that all manufacturers would be really cool, because I took out that our Boost Pro that has the 7S gauge. My son's sled has a 7S gauge, so I'm able to track him. It's just really cool. It'd be cool to have a universal tracking type system. So I don't know if that's even in the cards, but I mean, all the manufacturers are offering a larger gauge now. And so
they just have to play nice on what that looks like.
Exactly.
I guess.
Like that'd be huge if we could track each other, because it was super cool being able to find exactly where he was at.
Yeah, I would guess that's coming. Hey everybody, thanks for listening. If you're watching us on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button. I want to take a quick break here and share something with you. Polaris just announced that it is offering free snowmobile rides at more than 50 participating Polaris Adventures Outfitter locations across the country. Starting now throughout the season, riders can claim a free 1-hour ride at a participating Polaris Adventures location of their choice. All you have to do to claim this free ride is go to polaris.com/snowdemos and request a code. That website also lists all of the locations. It's really easy to navigate, and it'll walk you right through it. It's super easy, a great way to experience the sport for free. And you can have more time if an hour isn't enough. So if you're listening and you want to check this out, or if you're a diehard sledder and want someone you know to have an opportunity to go ride snowmobile, this is a great opportunity. Again, go to polaris.com/snowdemos, request a code, get your free 1-hour ride at participating Polaris Adventure dealers of your choice, and go out and have fun. Try this sport out. It's the best thing on snow. All right, back to the show in some form or another, just because there's a safety element to it.
Right.
Yeah. They should all be able to get on board with that. So
yeah.
It's just like the tethers or anything else. I know Broc was saying he wished that they had a lot bigger windshield now, because he gets cold sometimes.
And a comfier seat with a backrest.
Yes. Yeah. For the way out, I was I mean, that'd be perfect.
Didn't Yamaha have a heated seat before they closed doors?
Yeah, it's called 4-stroke exhaust under the seat.
It's called the.
No, and I think Arctic Cat, if they can manage to stay in business or get bought out by somebody and keep going forward, they've got to clean up a little bit of their fit and finish. Like they got some rattles.
I agree.
On that thing.
That's true. We didn't talk about that much in the last couple, but
I was
like
gonna
riding
point
the
that
500 out at the dunes. So not quite that bad, but rattles.
Does have some rattles.
It's got a noticeable vibration that you feel. It's got a lot of rattles that you hear. Like when the 858 came out this fall.
The brake.
The brake disc. They've got a clevis pin and a big washer under the hood there that maybe makes some noise. They've got they had issues with the
Exhaust spring.
The exhaust valve control.
Oh, yeah. Then
where the bracket mounts to the pillar frame.
Yep.
That was angled wrong.
Yep.
Which is hard because if you went out right now and jumped in your pickup and drove down the road and it was doing that, you'd probably stop. It's like something's wrong, right? Rattles are usually bad.
Yeah.
Vibrations bad. I don't know.
But you know what? I'll also take an Arctic Cat that rattles if it just means we have an Arctic Cat.
Yeah.
Right.
True.
So I'm good with that. Anything else on that line?
I mean, this guy was wondering about prices, but I think they could all try and come down on prices. But I think that's just in today's world.
So that's another thing. Yeah, there was somebody that was talking about prices, and people bring up prices all the time. And if you look at the Arctic Cat conversation, what's going on with Arctic Cat? Why are they going out of business? Why are they shutting the doors? And people just come on and say, well, we need a snowmobile that's $10,000. Like, okay, here's why snowmobiles are so flippin' expensive. It's a combination of a lot of things. Back in the late 90s, early 2000s, the government mandated exhaust requirements, right? EPA requirements. So what happened? Yamaha said, well, everybody's going to go 4-stroke. We're already ahead of the game in 4-stroke, so our snowmobiles are going to go 4-stroke. So they went 4-stroke. Skidoo and Polaris were like, it's not going to work 4-stroke. We're going to come up with a clean 2-stroke. Now, at the time, you could buy credits, so you could have a really dirty engine. But if you sold enough of a cleaner engine, it offset the overall output, and then you could buy credits from somebody else. So if you're a little bit cleaner, I can buy your credits and apply it to my dirtier line. So that required a lot of development money because you had to go everybody had to go redesign their engines, come up with new injection systems. That's billions of dollars.
I was going to say it's expensive.
And that has to be done. That's an investment going forward. That's not like they can get money from you right now as a customer and then take that. They had to go come up with that. So yeah, prices increased because that cost increased. On top of that, we as snowmobilers are constantly asking for more power, especially mountain riders at elevation.
More power. Yep.
Yeah. So what do? They come out with different 800s, increase the power, come out with 850s, increase the power, come out with factory turbos, increase the power. Factory turbo was another huge development that cost billions.
Yeah.
And it was an investment. It's not like, again, it's not like you're taking the money that you make off the snowmobile. Like you are taking your capital that you're making off of customers, and then you're borrowing money. Like we as consumers asking for more power are driving the cost of these snowmobiles.
Right.
So you can't demand all of this and then have the government requiring all of this,
right,
and have a $10,000 snowmobile that we used to have in 1996.
Yeah,
it just doesn't work that way.
And then the other key to that, I think, if you take this into account, is the inflationary pressure over the last few years. I mean, unfortunately, there's a lot of petroleum-based products in snowmobiles. Like everything has petroleum in it, and then. Just like if you look at the cost of pickups, you look at the cost of groceries. I mean, your grocery bills are double easy.
Yeah.
So that means your $14,000 sled should be about $28,000, not 22.
Hey,
24.
Don't give them any ideas.
Well, no, but I mean realistically, like I know it's hard, it's expensive. I mean, we've been looking at them. You walk in, and you're like, that's crazy. Like that's a lot of money. But relatively, like you said, I think I don't think they're manufacturers. I guess what I'm trying to say, I don't think they're being greedy necessarily to say, hey, here's this market, let's grab everything that we can.
They got to stay in business.
I think they got to stay in business. And I think that, they've had to pass on some of that cost like everybody else, whether it be in home building or anything else. I mean, everything's more expensive. Yeah. So
and this requires big investments at the factory. They have to tool up for If you change an exhaust pipe, you got to make a new tool for that. If you change a body panel, you have to make a new tool for that. On the flip side of that, though, they are making money. Like, they are making money on snowmobiles. These are multi-billion-dollar corporations. They are making more money on a turbo mountain sled than they are making on a 600 trail sled. Like, the profit margin is bigger.
Yeah.
So they're for sure making more money. But what we're demanding, what the EPA is requiring, is driving costs. Like, there's no way around that. But okay, moving on from that one. Would any sled be better with a different track option that it's also offered with? So Polaris, we tested the 325. Would it be better with the 275? The Cat, we tested the 3-inch. Would it be better with the 2.6? Skidoo, we tested a 3-inch. Would it be better with the 2.5?
I think that comes down to snow conditions, honestly.
Riding areas.
Riding areas. Mm-hmm.
I'd say everything that we rode was pretty good. The only one that I think, I guess I've always kind of gone toward a longer lug length, just because most of the time we try to ride when conditions are pretty ideal. We always talk about spring conditions and low snow times, like where maybe you wish you had a little bit shorter lug. But I think the only one that maybe we mentioned was the 325 with the 850 on the Polaris. Maybe robs a little bit of power, but it's still a great track. I didn't really feel like it didn't do anything that we wanted to do the other day. But that's maybe the only one that with the lower power, at least in the NA. But on anything else, I think I'd go with the 325 all day long. So,
and the Cat, like their 2.6 track, I'm not a fan of. Like it.
Yeah, me neither.
For a mountain sled, like it chews up the snow. You tend to go down before you go forward. The Skidoo, their 2.5-inch track is actually really cool. Like we tend to get 3-inch track. We've had a 2.5 every now and then. The 2.5 is actually pretty good. 2.5-inch track on these summits, because you get more track speed out of it. You get less digging, less trenching. That's not a bad way to go. Yeah. Like I could be just as happy on a 2.5 Skidoo track. I'd be fine on a Polaris 275 track. I just would not want the Cat 2.6 track for what we do. Next question. Are these the best sleds? And we're talking about the 25 Chaos.
Are these your questions still?
These are my questions.
We're not into
the social media stuff. The 25 Summit X850, the 25 Cat M858, the 25 Chaos 9R. Are these the best sleds each brand has put out? Is there a previous year model that is better? Meaning, are we still progressing and getting better year over year, or have we gone off the rails?
Cat for sure.
Cat for
like
sure.
100%.
Yep. I think the 9R for sure.
Over the 850. Regressing. No, I mean, none of them just, they are all, I don't know.
And I don't feel any of them really plateaued either. I think they're all changing little things to make them better each year. But
yeah, I mean, it's funny. It's kind of interesting in the sled cycle. You look at the Polaris, you look at the Skidoo. I mean, they're probably, I feel like they're reaching kind of that top mark where you're maybe looking for something different. Yeah, it's a little old news.
Yeah, I agree. I think Polaris I think it's time for a chassis upgrade.
You've been riding. I mean, it's amazing. Mm-hmm. So it's hard to. We always say, what would you change? But at the same time, it's getting tired. If going back to what we were just talking about, that make it more expensive. Add another chassis and change everything. But
change all the tooling out.
But
yeah. Well, we were on it. We were on a 5-year platform.
Yeah.
5-year rotation.
Yeah.
And then everybody gets like, and then then a new sled comes out, and then it's like almost 3 years. People are demanding new stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, what do you want? Do you want a cheaper sled, or do you want a brand new chassis every 3 years?
Yeah.
Like,
you can't have both. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a little more excitement. I don't know. Maybe there's still excitement out there, but I think it helps get that excitement back. Oh, there's a new sled coming out.
Yeah,
people are looking to maybe snow check more.
Yeah, just the overall look. I mean, I think that ever since they came out with the Polaris, the Pro RMK, to now, I mean, there's been some changes and differences in overall appearance, and of course the chassis changes and things, but not like, it's nothing revolutionary, I guess, is from an appearance standpoint. Mm-hmm. So if you're talking about, the look, maybe it's grown just a little tired. So.
And if Polaris came out with a new chassis, that's the opportunity where we talked about earlier to change the engine configuration, the layout, and maybe move some mass back a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if you'll see. I don't know if we'll see engine changes. I don't know how much that would be in the cards, but
You mean as far as size?
size or just a better motor, maybe a little more output. Like you said, changing the configuration, the Polaris boost. Do they try to do something more centralized with the turbo, like Skidoo has, so that they get rid of that weight bias?
Yeah.
But that would require, I'm sure that requires a significant change. That's not just an easy,
And
or else they would have done it originally.
yeah, and maybe again with Arctic Cat closing operation, it kind of sucks because maybe the next step would be like we talk a lot about the 9R.
Yeah.
How great that sled is. Is that a gap in the other brand lineups? Like you're going from 850 NA to turbo on a Skidoo. Is there a void in there where they need to compete with the 9R?
I know.
A turbo.
What's so crazy about the 9R is it's almost like, it's really weird. It's just kind of like you have the 850s and you have the turbos, and then you just kind of have this 9R hanging out kind of in the middle, where it's really, it's not even like I know it's a kind of a modded sled, but it doesn't feel like it. Like there's nothing, I've never once had it miss or not perform or anything like that. So it kind of
you mean sketchy?
Yeah.
It's not like a sketchy mod.
Yeah, it's not a sketchy mod by any means. I mean, you get on that, I'd take that every day. I know I'm getting out of the trailer. We know we're going to ride hard all day. You can do whatever you want. So it's kind of a weird segment because it's like...
It's on its own platform.
Yeah, it's kind of it's in its own little world sitting there. Like if I had any naturally aspirated sled, that'd probably be the one I'd go buy today. And yet it doesn't really compare. Like we keep pulling it into the comparisons, but it just doesn't.
Well, there's no category to put it in to compare it to.
Yeah, so maybe you're right. Maybe there is a category, or maybe everything just moves to that category.
And that sled should have come in $1,000 lower on MSRP. In my opinion, I think they would have sold more. I think people made a jump to turbo that would have been better on a 9R just because the prices are the same.
Right.
But I know they looked at it and they said, okay, well, what we're creating is a factory mod. And we're creating a turbo version of a factory mod and a 9R version of a factory mod, so they should price the same.
Yeah.
I think the 9R should have been a little cheaper.
But it's a weird spot to be in because, like, even what we were talking about buying one. You know, if you went down today, would you go get an 850, or would you want the 9R?
I'd
if
go
you're
9R.
going naturally aspirated. But again, you say you get to the 9R, and all of a sudden you're like, well, for $1,000 more, I can have a boost.
Yeah.
So which one would you get? So it's kind of I don't know. That sled is kind of its own little weird market.
It is. It is. Yeah. And we're talking more of the 850s. We keep throwing the 9R in because it's got to go somewhere, and that's the benchmark of the 850s anymore.
Right.
Like, well, how close is it to the 850? When the Cat came out, how close is it to the 850? So it just kind of goes that way on its own. Let's switch gears here and go into some social media questions. Bruce, you've got a few saved?
Yeah.
Bruce is all over social media, isn't he?
I love reading comments. Let's see here. I want to X that one. We talked about price a little. What is my phone doing here?
Handling and characteristics on each sled.
I saw that one.
Devon's Mead, we hit that in episode number 2 on this.
Yep. Here's one. How do the different brands compare in terms of power delivery, bottom versus top end? We kind of went over that.
I know somebody asked about how long motors last, how long sleds last. That's kind of an interesting one because
it is.
They all have a little different. I mean, we don't really know yet, I guess, on the 858. I think there's been a few issues, but I think people get excited when there's issues because whether you're hoping for them to succeed or fail, it's exciting. Like, so one motor failure, all of a sudden it's like, oh no, all the 858s are going down. And then now they haven't heard hardly anything. So, is that just people like to get excited about bad news, I guess?
It's like football. Like people root more for another team's failure than anything else. So the Polaris guys love it when something comes up about a Skidoo crank. Yeah. And the Skidoo guys love it when Polaris has another recall.
Yeah. So is the 858 a 1,200 mile motor? Or is it a 3,000 mile motor? Or is it, what is it? I don't know.
And honestly, I don't know because we test new stuff. We don't do long term stuff. We focus on new stuff that comes out and what it does right now.
Yeah.
Kevin Bilkey, Snowtech, he does a lot of long term stuff, high mileage stuff. He's a good resource for that, but he's not not really a mountain guy.
Yeah.
You got one pulled up over there, Bruce?
Well, we've kind of talked about them all. I guess we could kind of go through. How well does each track work in different snow conditions? How playful the sled is? How predictable the sled is? Which is the easiest to keep up on edge?
That's a good question. We have talked about it in previous episodes, and we talked about it earlier today. But like, you take the Polaris for example, you go from a 275 track, which hooks up and goes, but you get more track speed out of it, to a 325 track, and all of a sudden it's like mud tires on your truck.
Yeah.
You
It
grip.
leaps.
You grip. It leaps. It pulls on your arms. It jumps out of the snow.
And with the way that the Polaris comes out of the snow anyway, to start with, it's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
It doesn't weigh, and I don't think it digs down, which is kind of interesting. I remember when we first saw that 325 track, I just thought, oh, we're going to be digging holes, but it doesn't. So
Yeah.
Here's a good question. Same guy. Whose sled is easiest to service?
Who wrote that?
It is the Wizard.
the Wizard.
Wizard O'Boz. The Wizard O'Boz.
Nice.
Wizard O'Boz.
Nice handle.
Wizard of Oz.
So which is the easiest to service?
Well, somebody had a comment on there that the Arctic Cat's probably the easiest to work on us because the engine
Yeah, because
just lays on the chassis, and then you've got intake and exhaust right there.
Yeah.
Well, and the hood comes off really quick. That's what's nice.
a lot of access.
Oh, the Polaris hood comes off really quick too. 2 clips and a wire. The Skidoo hood is probably the most difficult to get off and get access to. Let's talk about like front bumper change. What is the hardest sled to change front bumper on? Skidoo.
Skidoo.
Skidoo. Yeah, that's a lot of work in there.
I did like the oil fill on the Skidoo. That's really cool. It's got that little panel. That was sweet.
So serviceability, like that's easy.
Yeah.
It's easy to get to the clutches on a Skidoo. Like that whole cover just comes off.
Yeah.
Yep.
Easy to fill with oil. Chain case tension. It's actually pretty easy on a Skidoo compared to older chain case designs.
Yeah.
The other two obviously are belt drive.
It is hard to get the primary clutch off the catalyst. Like when you pull it, there is no room in between the clutch and the side cover.
Do you have to drill rivets out to make room, or
No, you just have to cuss and
A lot of
swear
flex.
and put some gloves on so you don't get hurt. Honestly.
So you have been modding BBC.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Interesting.
now we knew it.
Interesting.
Yeah,
We knew
now
this
we
guy couldn't be
know.
trusted.
Just
What were
recently.
you pulling the clutch?
Just recently. We've done the testing. Now I can do what I want with it.
Let's see. Blambert, 1969, asked how can the prices of new sleds be honestly justified? I think we addressed that right at the beginning. Let's get back and listen to that. Tracks. So I've got that same one saved that you had about the tracks. Uncle Ed, 223, Rexburg guy. He says, what holds an edge better? What power band is most usable? What tracks are most durable? What sled feels the lightest? I think we addressed that in the last episode. The Cat probably feels the lightest. What sled holds an edge better? Hands down, the Polaris.
Yeah.
And is there any argument there?
No.
Even if you threw a Skidoo expert in.
Yeah, I still think the Polaris is just so well grounded. Like, I think it's one of the one sleds, and no matter how steep it is, you always have confidence to cut a straight line across the hill or move up down anywhere you want. So
Yeah, and I know we get a lot of bias. I mean, shoot, we've been around for 51 years, so
yeah,
we go through waves of bias and whatever to that. Like we test sleds and we state facts.
Right.
Like we just report on findings, and if you think we're being biased because we say the Skidoo or the Polaris holds an edge better than the other two, like,
so be it.
well, go assemble a fleet and ride them for a year back to back every single day,
Yeah,
like
right.
we do.
Yeah,
And if you come out with different findings, let us know.
yeah,
Like, I don't know.
yeah. It's hard. I know that. I mean, like when we were riding the other day, the ability it's pretty awesome, and we're definitely spoiled. But to be able to step on one sled, do a loop, step on another sled, do a loop, step on another one, do a loop, and then turn around, do it the opposite direction or go in a different place, I think it's very unique, because I don't think there's any other times, like even when you jump on your buddy's sled. I mean, the setups are so different. We're not talking about stock setups, and maybe you only do it for a couple minutes, but we get to ride a lot more. So I feel like I mean, we're not experts necessarily in anything, but we do have an opportunity to compare them, closer than most people do. And so it's fun to promote the industry, help riders learn and understand. If we can give some information that helps you make a sled buying decision or gets you excited about the industry, then that's what we're here for.
Yeah.
So.
And if you jump on your buddy's sled, man, maybe he's got a tunnel bag full of waters. Maybe he's got a handlebar bag that's dragging on the console. Maybe he's got, who knows what, he's got a muff pot on.
Yeah, suspension setups, weight differences.
He thought he was smarter than somebody else with the clutching. Like everybody tends to change something when they buy a sled.
Yeah.
Like BBC over here.
Yeah.
And it'll throw.
I just throw a SnoWest sticker on it.
We try to stay baseline, right?
Right.
So we are box stock specs.
Yep.
Like,
I got a good one right here. This is actually a guy that I know. He's a BRP Lynx district sales manager.
okay.
The continued disrespect for Lynx needs to end. Sad that you're not even promoting the fourth brand of sled in these comparisons.
We don't have one to compare.
Yeah, they
Exactly.
don't support our ability to test with. We have a Lynx. We have
one
a
this year.
We have a Shredder
We got
DS
one.
Turbo, so it'll
When
be
we do
in
the turbo.
another test category. That'll be coming up when we go test the turbos. Lynx will be in there, but Lynx isn't supporting this test category with product.
Yeah. Which is okay. It just that we can't speak to it. So
Yeah.
We don't have one.
So that's there's the answer.
All I can say to that is it's heavier. I know it's heavier. Their suspension is heavier. Their skis are heavier.
Which we will weigh it. So
Down the
one
trail,
we
it's
got
probably
now.
the one to have.
Yeah, down the trail
Honestly,
on
it
the
is
that
fun.
conversation, like going in on
Yeah.
that goat trail moguls, like
The Lynx all day.
give me
there.
the Lynx.
Yep.
Yep.
I have one.
Okay.
Any of those better than my Clydesdale of a Scandic? I commented on that. I said, nope, you win. Anyway, just a funny one there.
Let's see this.
I saw somebody said something about how they look. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
I know that's probably way out there because it's just, personal opinion. But is there one that you like look of better than another? Or?
I don't know, but I really love the comments. Every now and then you see one that says Skidoo copied the Catalyst.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
It's like okay. I don't even know where you get to that one when one comes out before the other, but I think the Catalyst looks phenomenal.
Yeah. It's like we said, it's maybe some of the other designs are growing older, so it is the new thing. So it's kind of fun to see something different, the way they cut it up. But they did a good job. I think the styling is awesome. So
The Polaris is probably starting to look the most dated.
Yeah.
I think those Pro Taper bars make it look dated.
yeah.
Like we said, it's very, the chassis, the platform is very similar to what's been out on previous generations.
Yeah. Yep.
It could use a refresh, but again, it's also is it the benchmark that everybody's trying to measure against? So
Right.
do they screw it up
How
if
much
they
do
go
you
change it?
change?
Yeah. I don't know. We had some comments about the Polaris brake drag issue going into limp mode.
Remember that one?
In 2025,
Yeah.
that's not an issue.
Yeah, I haven't noticed it since the first time that they put that into those sleds. That was the only time that it really affected me. But since then, and with their updates and stuff, I don't feel like that's as big of an issue.
Yeah.
So
And what they did there, the shutdown system going into limp mode, that's more of a legal driven thing.
Yeah.
I would say. I would guess. I don't work there. I don't know, but I would guess that's driven by legal liabilities.
I've got one here.
Okay.
Hunter M31. How does the cat track compare to the Polaris 3.25 hard pack versus bottomless? I know we haven't been in either of them really with them two sleds, but I don't know. That 3.25 track is pretty amazing track.
Yeah.
Just thinking back to last year, bottomless, it floats through that snow pretty good. I felt like the Catalyst does. Also, we really didn't have a Catalyst in bottomless snow last year, so it's hard to know versus going to the Ascender style. But
Yeah, but go back to 2019 when the Alpha 1 rail came out.
Yeah.
A black and purple sled.
yeah,
When we got, nobody wanted it on the trail going in, but when we got up high,
Yeah.
we were in deep
That's
snow,
true.
and that was a year of deep snow.
Yeah.
When we were testing, that was deep snow. How well did that track do in deep snow?
yeah, really good actually.
It was a standout.
Yeah. So I don't know. That both tracks are great, and they probably fit the sled that they're under
Yeah.
more than.
That might have been the same guy. Maybe it was a different guy that was kind of crying foul because we were testing a cat with a 3-inch and a Polaris with a 325.
That's the manufacturer's best track or biggest track. So It's hard to compare.
What are we supposed to do? Go shave a 1/4 inch off the Polaris track?
Right.
I mean,
Right.
sure, let's put a 275 track on it.
Yeah.
Well, now the cat's got an advantage by 1/4 inch. Like,
Yeah.
In my experience, there's not a lot of difference between a 3 inch and a 3 1/4. So
yep. Say no more.
Yeah. Hard pack, I would probably say the 325. I feel like the hard pack on that catalyst is sketchy.
sketchy.
Yeah.
Like you'd almost want to move down to a shorter track.
Yeah.
If you're riding a lot of hard pack.
Yep.
Similar line of thought. Dirty 307 asks, isn't the Cat 858 more comparable to the 9R than the base 850?
I would say yes.
Yeah.
Sure felt like it.
So
I mean, if you're talking about why we're comparing, I think we have to keep that in the 850 category. Because it's not really fair. Like we said, the 9R kind of sits in its own thing. It's hard if we take that up and be like, well, now we're going to put it against the 9R because it's not an 850. It's technically something different, but I don't know.
yeah, that's an interesting one because the 850 category was born in 2019.
Yeah.
It's 2025. So obviously Arctic Cat had a little more time to strategically place this engine.
Yeah.
So they did say, why come out with an 850? Let's beat the 850s.
Right.
So they come out with an 858. And before they had the motor on the ground or anything, they were benchmarking this thing to the 9R.
Yeah.
You know, they were saying, "Oh man, our dyno,
Right, I
our
remember that.
dyno results are incredible. Like this thing's going to go after the 9R." And then they did the same thing with weight. And they came in where they said on weight. That was impressive. Initially, when we tested the 858, didn't feel good. But since the engineering team has had more time and Jason Nethercott's had more time to get it dialed, because shorter staff, like you're talking
Right.
man hours. If you have 50 people on a team and you have 2 weeks, you got a lot of man hours to get from point A to point B. If you've got 4 people on a team in 2 weeks, you have a fraction of that time actually.
Yeah.
So they've gotten it caught up. So what we've been riding on this production 2025 that rips, and I would say it's more of a 9R competitor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's heads and shoulders better than the Polaris 850.
Yeah.
And any clutch kit, we'll probably put it right up there with the 9R. Right.
Any clutch kit on a 9R, we'll put it right up there way
and
ahead.
any continued
For sure.
improvements.
I mean, you could
we're still, I don't know how many people they have looking into where they're at right now. Like you said, it's not very many, I'm guessing, since they've let most everybody go. But somebody like Nethercott can probably get the most out of that motor and clutching and then the programming. So,
Yep.
Yeah. You got another one pulled up?
I mean, why? How does BRP make such a higher quality sleds than the other manufacturers?
I don't know if that's tongue in cheek, but I'll speak to that. Like
Okay.
I've been to
You've
the
been there.
factory.
That's your
I've
question.
been to the factories in different plants of each brand, and then I've been to the SKU factory most recently, toward the headquarters. Met with all of the engineering team. I've been in the R&D shop where they have 4 engine dyno bays. And have engines on there. I've seen their testing processes and how they do that. I've followed a free ride from a tunnel with no VIN number on it to the point in the production line where it's put in a crate.
Oh, really?
I've seen every single step along the way there, and seen how they're meticulous people.
right.
Like that, the French Canadians, like whatever
They care.
their history is, they're very particular. And every brand will have issues pop up here and there. And some things can be traced back to source suppliers because that, COVID screwed things up. And you have problems here and there. That's going to plague manufacturers of any demographic, any brand, trucks, cars, motorcycles, boats, whatever. But BRP is very particular on fit and finish. And that probably speaks to a little bit why it's a heavier product. They also want durability. They have high durability standards. Polaris, to me, is more so the weekend racer guy that's like, well, I'm just going to build something that's going to kick your ass this weekend.
Right.
And it's a different approach. Polaris's fit and finish is good. It's just not the benchmark of Skidoo, maybe. Arctic Cats is probably lower than Polaris, but take any one of them and go have a blast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Which one is a better all-around sled? I don't know what
Have
all
the
around
NAs?
I don't know what all around means anymore, because everybody's all around is different.
Yeah.
You know, I listen to a lot of dirt bike tests, like Chris Kiefer
Yeah.
and those guys, and we're to a point in development where we have surpassed a lot of expectations on what snowmobiles are capable of,
Yeah.
like factory turbos,
Right.
clutching, engine packages, track, design, everything. Like, sure, 10 years from now, we're going to look back and say, holy crap, those 2025s were junk.
Yeah.
But we're to the point where these things are outperforming rider capabilities for the most part.
Yeah.
And it's hard. You can't say this one is the best sled, because
Yeah.
where we ride is different from where somebody in Colorado rides, from somebody in BC rides. It's just, there's too many things that are subjective.
Yeah. Yeah, even when you mentioned before, you look at, Ford, GM, Dodge, like however you look at that, everybody's kind of got it's that same argument, like, well, but that's everybody's personal preference. I mean, I sometimes give Skidoo a lot of crap for how they handle, but I'll be honest, I probably spend, less time on that one over the years. I was riding Polaris for a lot of years, rode a Cat for 5 or 6 years, and then went back to Polaris. I've spent some time on the Skidoos, especially since we've test ridden them and stuff, but I wouldn't say I have, back in 2000 to 2006, I was on a Skidoo, but that's significantly different than what we're riding today. So I don't think you could go wrong with any one of them. If you went and bought any one of them, rode it hard, and got a lot of seat time on it, you could do things that nobody else could do, And to say you're going to just jump on one and all of a sudden be an expert at it just isn't realistic. I don't think any different than dirt bikes or personal preference on looks of a pickup or how the seats hug your butt.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's a lot of different variables.
And there's a big aspect of buying a snowmobile of just what, like some snowmobiles suit some people.
Yeah.
Body type, strength, body build. If you got strong shoulders, if you're better lower body, I don't know.
They might just like the way the color looks better in their trailer. I don't know. I mean, seriously, it gets down to that sometimes. I don't care if it starts and runs, that's great, but I like the color. If
my onesie matches my sled, I'm good.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's hard to talk to all of that, but
yeah.
Here's
one that kind of goes with that same. It's Fergie 4005. Please do a real life technical riding comparison of the sleds. Technical tree riding. Let us know how each handles getting up and on top of the snow, steep lines, climbing, trenching, etc., which is best for people who ride those type of conditions. Then talk about wide open area riding.
We did that in the second episode.
Yeah,
to pretty good depth, and that is pretty much our riding. Where we ride and do most of our testing is pretty heavy trees.
Yeah,
we probably stay away from big, steep, vertical stuff for avalanche concerns.
Right.
We do get into it a little bit. We do a lot of drainage riding, pretty technical stuff. One thing we didn't talk about maybe in the second episode, where we addressed all of that, is maybe trenching. Which sled with the track configurations that we have had the most tendency to trench when you got on the throttle, or which one got on top of the snow best?
I feel like Skidoo's always trenched a little bit more than the other ones.
Yeah.
And even with the expert and everything, I feel like if they break that crust and they start trenching, it's not coming out.
What about Polaris and
I feel like Polaris gets up on top of snow. I mean, they're all going to trench eventually, right?
Right.
When you get through that certain crust layer, but I feel like Polaris comes out or stays on top better, and Cat's right behind them. Skidoo does good if you can get moving, but I think from a standstill, I think your Skidoo's going to trench.
Yeah.
More than the other two.
And maybe there's other elements at play there, because the Skidoo running boards are wider. So once you do get the track down into the snow, your running boards are wider, so it's a little bit more of a shelf.
Yeah.
The Skidoo track is wider, so we're talking a 16 wide track versus a 15 wide track. But I agree, if you feel that rear end going down and you just auger it in, it's harder to get a Skidoo out.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how to really explain it, but
right. It's there.
It's easier to kind of wiggle and maneuver, and you can get yourself out on a Polaris or a Cat by yourself just by hammering the throttle and twisting and pushing and rocking back and forth.
Yeah.
Whereas Skidoo, when you get to that certain point, sometimes it doesn't do
and
that.
It could be that extra wide track and a little heavier.
Yeah, maybe. Putt, PUTYUKA grip. I don't know what. I have no idea. Try to figure out these handles. True dyno horsepower numbers. That I just want to talk about that for a little bit because I've seen the factories have each given us their horsepower numbers compared to their competition, and the ones that brand A gives us are exactly the same as the one brand B and C give us. So they know what everybody's doing at the crank, and it's not really surprising stuff, but it's irrelevant because that you have to what you get horsepower at the crank has to go through their clutching, has to spin the primary, has to pull the belt, has to spin the secondary, has to spin the jack shaft, has to spin the
drive shaft,
belt drive, or the chain, has to spin the drive shaft, has to spin the track. So I don't know what that is. Like my engine has more horsepower than your engine, but what does
how
that
much
matter?
power is that getting to the track?
Yeah.
It's a different. It'd be interesting. I don't know how would you dyno a snowmobile. I guess you could put you couldn't have a lugged track.
Yeah.
You'd almost have to go to because you got to get. You'd lose. I think it'd be too inconsistent on which lugs are gripping the surface that you're trying to dyno against, So, but it'd be interesting to see if you could actually translate that power to track.
Yeah.
But
and then does the clutching stay the same? And you're going to do this at sea level. So what happens at elevation?
yeah,
I tell you, the Cat comes in at pretty respectable numbers at the crank.
I was going to say who
surprising.
wins. What do those numbers look like? Do you remember? Or Cat
I've got them written. I've got them written down here, but the Cat is out of this class. Out of these three, the Cat comes out with crank horsepower. See, they talked about dry weight, wet weight. Dry weight is irrelevant. And when you go on a website and you're looking at manufacturer specs and they list a dry weight, a dry weight from a manufacturer is a mathematical sum of all of the parts individually. It's not like they built the sled and then weighed it and then added fluids.
Because they're saying dry. We're talking no Loctite on bolts,
exactly.
no oil on
grease.
anything. It's based on the weights of products that they purchase or manufacture.
Yeah, each product that is supplied and contributes to the whole machine, that's the number. It's just math.
Okay.
It's not like we put this thing on a scale and weighed it. So then what you're talking a wet weight. Wet weights are all over the place because some is a wet weight with grease, with oil, with Loctite, with coolant. Some wet weights are without coolant. Some wet weights are without oil. So we just weigh our stuff ready to ride.
I like the ready to ride weight because, like you said, if you're going to go out to ride today, that is the weight you're starting with. Even down to the Skidoo having a little bit more. I mean, you're not going to put 3/4 of a tank in a Skidoo so that you can be more on par with your buddies for weight, right? So I think that one makes the most sense to me.
Well, and then somebody else asked, let's see if I can find it here real quick. I think I blew right past it. Weight after you ride.
So that's snow accumulation in the track, on the tunnel.
So where do you gain weight during a ride?
On the tunnel
running boards, the running boards don't hold as much as they used to. It seems like, I think, 6, 8, 10 years ago, we always kind of had a significant amount of snow in the running boards. It seems like they don't really hold quite as much. Maybe the Cat holds the most, I think. But
on the running boards, yeah. But then as far as the tunnel goes, Cat holds
it cleans
least.
out. Yeah, the tunnel and the rails, the track, everything cleans out super quick with the Alpha.
You'd be surprised how much weight you accumulate in moisture in the seat foam and in the underhood foam. Mm-hmm. And if you can't park your sled and completely dry it out in 2 or 3 days, next time you go ride, you're still carrying water in your underhood foam.
I remember old Rob Kincaid did a weight up in the mountains. They went and rode and then weighed sleds after that.
That was cool.
That's been a few years ago, but anyway.
And we've tried doing that. We had a setup where we waited for a deep powder day. We had our scale set up in the cabin in the shop. We went out and rode, did the same loop, but in your own track. Pulled right into the shop, hooked it up, and weighed it. But this is a long time ago, so those numbers are
irrelevant.
I mean, that was when we were having Yamaha Nitros involved in that, but that was a long time ago. So yeah, different sleds accumulate different weight. The Cat does a good job at not accumulating weight. Polaris tends to build up a little bit of weight on the rear suspension hanger. Cat builds up ice on the front of the running board. Skidoo carries a little bit of weight on the tunnel. It's just where, but Skidoo is the only one that has a full length tunnel cooler.
Right.
They carry a lot of coolant, and their coolant runs the full length of the tunnel, so it'll carry a little more weight back there. But it's also yeah. You got another question?
I don't.
I think I had one more. In Canada, we have insanely long, ungroomed trails into riding zones. Which sled eats the whoops the best for 45-minute moto into the zone?
Not Cat.
Like we complain about our 15-minute.
I know. I think I'd get out of
moguls.
snowmobiling if I had to ride 45 minutes of trail.
45.
Well, when I was up in Kelowna, we flew into Kelowna, Carl Kuster's place up in Sycamoose, and we rode from his shop. We were debating about trailering up or riding from his shop, and we rode from his shop in 45-minute mogul fest. And that's when I want to ski free ride.
Yeah.
Like that's not even a sled we're comparing in here.
That's true.
But that might be like, okay, if it's 45 minutes in, we're going to ride for 4 hours and 45 minutes out. Maybe I don't buy an 850 NA. Maybe I buy a free ride.
Right.
Maybe it changes my or maybe I buy a Lynx.
Or a Scandic.
Probably not a Scandic. I don't know if I'm ever going to get to that point.
All right, I got a question.
Okay.
For you guys. What sled do you trust or feel more comfortable being on if you're in a spot you shouldn't be in? Like if you got to get out of a ravine, creek, it's getting late at night, you're tired, what sled do you want to be on?
Out of those three that we rode, right?
Let's go them three and then let's go overall. Like, what do you want to be on when it's tired, you're cold, you're about out of gas, you got to get out of here or else you're spending the night?
I'm getting on the Polaris.
Yeah.
Just because I know what it's going to do, and I'm not going to get surprised by it as much as the others. The cat is going to be unpredictable, like coming out, especially if you're punching your own way out through the trees, and you're like, well, screw it, we're not going to go back to the way we came in. We're just going to beeline it.
out.
We're going to follow the moon and go out this way.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna use a lot of energy. Like the cat's easy to ride during the day when you're on your game, but
When you're tired.
In that situation, the cat's going to be unpredictable.
Okay.
But at the same time, might also be easy. So Cat Polaris maybe. The Skidoo can be a good one. Same thing though. Can be, especially the Summit X, can be unpredictable.
Okay.
I don't know. Any of those three, honestly.
Yeah, I agree with Ryan. I'd probably, I don't know. I really liked the Cat. Actually,
I'm
having a hard time.
Might buy you lunch today.
Okay, all right. No, I really.
You're just trying to sell your sled because you were in parks next year.
Well, he owes me lunch for all the ski poles I gave him.
We might have to go grab some lunch.
All right. Maverick corn dog. Here we go.
I mean, it's still. I still think with a little bit of time, I think I'd be really comfortable, and it did feel. I think I'd have to put a little less input into it, I guess. I think sometimes at the end of the day on the Polaris, when I'm a little tired, like I do feel like that initiation of some things. I think where I'd be nervous is I don't feel like it's quite as predictable. Like I know exactly, but I think it'd probably be, like Cat Polaris.
Okay.
So.
I think I'd probably go with the Cat just because it's so simple to initiate. And you're already tired. I don't think I'd be overriding it because I was already tired. So I think I'd probably go with that Catalyst.
Okay.
And it was impressive. We talk a lot about the technical side of things because that is where we spend most of our time. So we kind of go find tree sections where we can ride through and kind of either really deep or semi-deep snow. Usually we've got a pretty decent base. And the Cat, it performed really well. I never felt out of control on it in the technical stuff. Most of the times I lost control was just my just not being used to maybe how the throttle engages and the sled reacts to that. I can't really blame that. It's just my lack of time on the sled, but I never felt like I was wildly out of control.
Yeah.
So.
Which sled do you feel the most likely and least likely to get stuck on throughout the day?
That's a good one.
I didn't get stuck, so I have to think about that one.
Captain Skeeple over there. Broc, I need help.
I think the only sled I got stuck on was this Skidoo, but that's because it wanted to turn me into a tree, and I couldn't make it go where I wanted at that moment. But that is the one that one threw me off, and so did the 9R when I hit tree stumps. So
I'd say the 9R I felt least likely to get stuck on.
yeah, if you had to do the 850s, I'd say the Polaris 850 would be the least. I just don't ever plan on getting stuck. So, but.
Because you probably don't get in places that you're going to get stuck.
Oh,
no, just kidding. I'm kidding.
Yeah,
That's a hard question. Because once they're all stuck,
You
they're all
guys
heavy.
can't get to where I ride. You need some real riders on that crew. Why don't you call me? I'll come test those sleds for you.
Yeah, we need to start doing backflips and big hucks like Turcotte so we can test these sleds better.
I don't know. There is no average snowmobiler, and there's no average snowmobile. So
Right.
yeah.
I don't know. It comes down to that. We got anything else to throw into this section? We had another hour.
I know, isn't that crazy? We're long-winded.
That we are. Okay, we'll wrap it up there. This has been the end of part 3 of our 850 NA test plus the 9R. So if you listen to this episode and you want to go catch up, go find parts 1 and 2 on the SnoWest Magazine YouTube channel. You can find it on Spotify. Find the SnoWest Show on Apple Podcasts as well. Go to snowwest.com, check out the magazine, check out our line of merch that we have to offer here. We've got T-shirts, hats. We're out of hoodies for the season, but we might have a new one coming out. But we do have sticker packs. Subscribe to the magazine. We still do the print edition. I'm sure you can find the digital issues floating around on our forums. A lot of good information at snowwest.com. Man, go on the forums. And like Dave Nerona, so many people have come up into the sport through the SnoWest forums. It's just such a wealth of information there.
Yeah.
But thanks for listening. We really appreciate the support. Subscribe to us on YouTube channel. Subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Follow the show. We're going to be doing these throughout the year now. We've usually taken the summers off, but we're going to be rolling this thing right along. So thanks for listening. We appreciate it, and we'll catch you next episode.